My dear friends, warm good afternoon, I must say to each one of you, and welcome again to the In Conversation series of Career Launcher. Uh, the person with us today will need no introduction because I've already floated a lot of news about him, and the kind of response that I've received from each one of you is very, very encouraging. बोला जाता है नाम ही काफी है, right? And when it comes to IIM Ahmedabad, right, naam hi kafi hai. So my dear friends, today we have got with us Shyam Sridhar. Can we give a huge round of applause first thing first for accepting to be part of this In Conversation series? A student from IIT BHU, and then rest is history for all of us, right? We all dream to get to the best college, right? And in the best college in the country, not only getting a good percentile, but converting is the key to success, my dear friend. Of course, he's an engineer, and today he'll be sharing the secret mantras of how he made it larger. Because every one of us dream to have big dreams we have got, right? But very few of us, including Shyam, have achieved something which is so great and powerful. So today we'll be hearing from him directly, and I will request all of you if you can just switch on your video. That will really be great and encouraging for all of us as well. So Shyam, let me welcome on behalf of the entire Career Launcher fraternity. You're back to CL, and today probably we'll be understanding about your secret mantras because ghar ki murgi dal barabar is the scenario for all of us. But someone like you just passed IIM Ahmedabad class of 2021. You'll be sharing the secret mantras. So welcome, Shyam. Uh, Shyam, now just check out whether you're able to unmute.
Hello. Yeah, I
Yes,
think it's working now, right?
right.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thanks a lot for the warm welcome and the lofty introduction. Happy to share whatever I can with all the students here.
What,
Yeah.
Shyam, just to start this conversation with one of the most important questions, because there are a set of questions that students have asked me. I'll be posing the same set of questions. And the first question they have asked is why the engineers, they're so fascinated towards management? Why don't they go do their job and leave all the commerce students at their bay to go ahead with IIM Ahmedabad dreams? Why, in short, why you people are the biggest roller as far as their journey is concerned for a commerce student? That is what the students have asked me to ask you straight away. Why you are so fascinated
I
to
think
straight away?
the honest answer is that most engineering students are confused, I think. So in order to get out
Right.
of it, they find the next, whatever goal they want to pursue in management is a top one out there for all among all goals to pursue. So yeah. But if I were to talk about my journey specifically, so I figured out very soon that I did not have a lot of interest in mechanical engineering. I am a mechanical engineer. So I did an industrial internship at Tata Motors. I did an research internship at IIT Bombay, and I understood that both of them have little, you know, on ground impact. They are either just maintenance jobs or very slow moving academic jobs, right? So they don't have much joy in them. I didn't find any joy. So I was just trying to discover myself. And then I realized that I love reading business news a lot. And I also love following economics. So I thought maybe the business world might be my area, but I was still not sure, which is why I also did not, commit for CAT right in my final year. I actually worked for a couple of years after graduating. So I was hoping that if I could work in a job where I can get to know more about the business world, how businesses work, what really are let's say how does a business expand, and what is the promoter's role, what is the CEO's role, what do managers do. I wanted to get a good understanding of each and every role function so that I can position myself in any of these roles and see whether I'm a fit for such a world. And as luck would have it, I did get a job in a boutique management consulting firm. So I worked there for a couple of years. I learned a lot about businesses. So that particular firm was helping clients, as in medium to small size businesses, move from India to Western markets, let's say Latin America or USA. So there was a lot to learn for me. in that process, and I got the certainty that yes, business is where I want to be, and which is why I then committed for CAT, and I after 2 years of work, I got into IMA.
Perfect. Shyam, the next question, which is very obvious, right, is about you scoring such a good percentile in CAT, right? So a lot of students have asked me regarding how you have done it, right? What is your strategy when it comes to section-wise breakup? Because you might be knowing about it every year. The pattern is something that we are always talking point for CAT, and this year is last year as well. In November 2020, they have changed their pattern. Now, instead of a 3 hour paper, they have converted into a 2 hour paper. Instead of
Right.
the regular 34, 36 questions, they have done it 26, 26, and 24 question. So, what was your mantra? How you have done it section wise, if we talk about English, maths, and logical reasoning for that matter?
Yeah, sure. So, right in my final year of graduation, I did take CAT just to see where I stand without any preparation. So I got 99.3 then. So I realized that I just have to do a little bit more effort to get a 99.5 plus so that I can, get into A or B or C. So I would suggest everyone to get an understanding of where you stand initially without any preparation, without doing anything, so that you can know what is the gap between where you stand and where you want to be, depending on what is your target institute. So once you have that figured out, then you can customize your preparation in that order. So I really had a tough time sitting for 3 hours in one place and giving an exam. Forget getting the answers right, but sitting there for 3 years itself was a big deal. So that's where the CL test preparation thing helped me, because there were countless 3 hour tests, and every weekend I was working, only the weekends were free. So every weekend I used to give two or three 3 hour examinations. So I also got to focus, and then I also got to sort of prepare myself for each of the three sections. And ironically, as an engineer, my weakest section was quant, not verbal or DILR. I basically was observing a pattern that I was not able to attempt more than 23, 24 questions, whereas my engineer friends would easily attempt 30, 34. So I realized my weakness area of development, and then I started to practice specifically those QA 1 hour tests, which again the CL platform has. So basically, what I used to do was I used to maintain an Excel tracker, and I would suggest every one of you to do that also. In that Excel tracker, I used to have four parameters. One is what was my attempt ratio. Second, what is my accuracy ratio, which is the number of questions I've gotten correct divided by the number of questions I've attempted. And then I also tracked my percentile and then my rank. If it was an all India test, then you also get a rank, right? So all these four parameters I used to track, and the only goal was that with every test I need to make some marginal improvement. That has to be there. So I need to see a clear upward trend. And that's if you see that, and if you keep making that upward trend, then what will happen is that most importantly you'll get good confidence when you near the exam date. So that confidence is really underestimated, I think. More than practice, you have to get into the examination hall with a really good confidence that yes, I will be able to do it. And that comes only from these practices and seeing this upward trend. Because if you don't notice your patterns, then you'll still probably feel a little bit tense when you get into the examination. So that's one thing. And yeah, make sure that you enjoy the process. I mean, many students just feel that I have to get this and this, but don't set yourself targets and don't set yourself crazy rules. You just make sure that when you're giving the exam, you enjoy the problem solving. That's the most important part. I mean, it's often overlooked, but it brings a sense of joy in you, and that joy will take you quite far. Not able to hear you, sir.
Yeah, a lot of good points you have made in terms of creating that Excel sheet. I really want all my students to note down each and every minute details which Shyam is talking about. Creating that tracker is very, very important as per Shyam, because that gives you a sense of where you are and where you have to head, and what is the gap between the both, so that you'll be able to identify those gaps and you'll be able to fill those gaps. Very well said. And another thing that you said during your conversation is with respect to, at the very start you need to understand where you are, and then you need to enjoy the process, because most of the time when the students are going and giving the paper as well, after every paper they are dejected, they are absolutely disappointed that mere se nahi hoga wala syndrome. And that is where the logic of understanding that tracker and understanding the strength and the weakness will play a very vital and a crucial role. Very, very important. Then it also brings me to my next question, which is with respect to how did you prepare section wise? Because most of the time the students ask me, how much time you used to give to quants, DILR, because the basic problem for the student is with respect to DILR and quants. And especially if you look at the trend from the last 3 4 years now continuously, DILR is the toughest of all the three lot, and comparatively, quant is relatively easier. And then moderate to difficult level is verbal ability. So, what is the kind of suggestion you'll be giving, and what was your pattern of study that the students can take away? Few of the pointers that you can share with them.
Yeah, sure. So to be honest, I did not study anything specifically. For me, study was equal to practice. I only practiced. And since there were lots of questions on the platform, CL platform, let's say, DILR is your area of development. So within DILR, you have to find out which are the particular topics you're not, let's say, good at. And then for that particular topic, go to the platform, find that, particular topic and start attempting questions within that. So that's what I did. For me, quant was weak. So for specifically in quant, geometry was weak, so I went into the platform, went into quant, went into geometry, and then attempted all those questions, and that's how I honed my skills in that. So for me, it was just giving tests every, my entire Saturdays and Sundays were spent giving the 3 hour test, the 1 hour test, the half an hour test, all the combinations that were there. So yeah, that was the mantra for me.
What about the analysis? Because most of the time the students are confused with respect to a lot of time they ask me, sir, how to identify the strength and the weakness? Because for me, when I think that my quant is the supreme, when I'm giving the test, when I'm realizing it at the outcome is that verbal ability, they have scored the highest. So what is the mechanism of identifying your strength and the weakness? And what is the mechanism that you have followed, Shyam, as far as your analysis is concerned? You must be knowing that out of 10 you have got 7 right, but how did you analyze the paper?
So for me, the analysis started with the answer sheet that's in the model answer sheet given by the platform itself. So I used to study the answers thoroughly, and whether I check whether do I think this way, and if I do not, then I used to attempt the question again in my own way of thinking, because sometimes you just cannot copy the style of the platform, right? With the answer that's been given there, because you have a different style of thinking. So for me, it was again sitting and solving the paper again and again, even after giving the test, just to make sure that I've gotten my way of thinking right, and I'm able to solve the, if this question comes again, would I be able to solve this question with my way of thinking? That was one. And as far as identifying the weakness is concerned, I think that's where the tracker comes in. You clearly get to know what's your percentile, where do you stand among your peers. So from there, even if you think that quant is your strength, but if your marks are not showing it, then definitely it's not.
Perfectly well said, well said. uh, how was your life in IIM Ahmedabad? Because most of the time, this is one of the hottest question that I've received from the students. Please do ask from on our behalf. How was your life in IIM Ahmedabad, right? Because they have the notion of having the two states, because most of them are Bollywood oriented. So, sir, is it like the two states or what the life is? And in what way IIM Ahmedabad has molded you? Yes, I know that IIT has molded you a lot, but if you can throw light in IIT times as well, and if you compare it with IIM Ahmedabad, in what way you have changed as an individual, Shyam?
Yeah, two states is definitely not true. That's the first thing I'm going to start with. If you are a really charming person, then maybe you might have some luck. I'm not sure, but something for you to discover once you enter. So
Right.
I'll break my IMA journey into two parts. One is first year, second year. First year is extremely hectic, as one might have known from other people. So the first year you have to go through this academic rigor. You study close to 30 subjects in 1 year, and you have to appear for surprise quizzes in terms, and you have assignments. There's so much to do, you don't even get time to think. Only you have the weekend, even weekends, a good part of the weekend will go in the academic commitment, the rest you might maybe get to do some fun. So that was the first year for me. I learned a lot, I enjoyed a lot, because I really like those subjects of management, marketing, operation, strategy, unlike engineering where I was just sailing through the process. So I really enjoyed it, one. And second was that there was so much to learn from the faculties and the peers. So since the entire your student circle is highly brilliant, you so the main difference between engineering and management, that one thing I would like to state here, is that management is the education. You have to also participate as student. It's not a one way communication like it generally is in engineering or undergraduate education. You have to, there's marks for your participating, and you have to express your opinions on a particular business, on a particular business strategy. That's the way it works. So you also get to understand how you think, how others think, and where do you stand in terms of thinking also. So all this comparison goes on, so it's a bit tough as well. because you're constantly benchmarking yourself, which is not really a great thing. So that's part and parcel of the first year life. Second year is much more relaxed, because suddenly, what I know what happens, the curriculum becomes very easy, and you also start getting more marks. They've structured it that way. So to me, second year, the learnings in second year were more personal than academic. I went into a journey of self discovery. I started questioning what really my goals are, and why are they my goals. What reason I have chosen them as my goals. So going in depth, I understood what my motivations and fears in life are, because that shapes everything. All your ambition, everything comes from there. And your insecurities come from there. So you have to understand that, and with the help of courses in psychology, philosophy, we had this in our second year. So I was able to do that. So it was a good balance, both academic and sort of soul searching. I think that's important for anyone who's in their late 20s or early 20s, because it will set you good for the rest of your life. You'll have much better clarity as to what you need to go after in your life. It's not often discussed, but I think it's the postgraduate education gives you this opportunity, because undergraduate mein you're not so mature to do this, but
Absolutely.
postgraduate mein you can.
Uh, Tell us about your profiling, because a lot of time that I am Ahmedabad or Bangalore or Calcutta, they are associated with the profiling that you carry before you enter that interview room. And most of them, they talk about, even there is a lot of misconceptions about profiling as well as the internship. There are a lot of people, they say that if you don't have the internship, probably you don't have a chance in making into IIM Ahmedabad. There are a lot of people, they say that if you don't have a very good profile, you'll not be able to make. What is true, what is not, and please throw light on your profiling and your experience.
Yeah, so my profile, it's 998 if I were to use the standard,
Right.
what in notation. So I had a CGP of 8.7 in my undergraduate, and I think that's decent enough. Most of my peers have a CG greater than 8. Some of them have less than 8 also, but anything more than 8 out of 10 will keep you in a good step. And as far as internship and job work experience is concerned, I think if you work in a high brand name firm, that definitely has its power. And if you work in industries which are relevant to business, let's say like consulting or finance, again that carries marks, especially in Ahmedabad. So yeah, I think these are the two areas, right? One is your academics and work experience. I don't think I'm missing out on anything. Is there anything else?
No. And what was your profile? Matlab, there is any specific thing that they have to do as far as the work X is concerned? And there is one more question which is being asked by one of the student is right just now is, if you don't have a work experience, then you still have a chance to make it into IIM Ahmedabad?
Yeah, definitely. 25% of my batch were freshers. So it's not that you have to
Brilliant.
have work ex. So if you have
Right.
a stellar profile in terms of your, UG, then you definitely stand a chance. And the most important part is the interview. What they're looking for in your interview is confidence. If you're confident that I'm a fresher, I know that, but still I have passion for management. I understand what I'm signing up for, and I can, I can answer your questions in such a way that you will understand my clarity. If you're able to do that, you have to practice for that. It doesn't come easy, but if you're able to do that, they'll happily take you. That I'm sure.
Can you take us through, since you mentioned about interview, right? So what was your interview experience? Yes, I can understand it is like 1.5 year back, 2 years back. You've gone through the entire complete process. But if you can throw some lights on type of question that they're asking and what kind of confidence, when we talk about confidence, they're checking confidence. And of course, the communication becomes the integral part of the selection process. So how these things will be matter as far as the IIM Ahmedabad is concerned, and your few of the experiences in few of the IIMs, how they are different from each
Yeah,
other.
sure. Yeah, my A, B, C three experiences, three of them were completely different. A was the typical, interview, the ones which we practice, where you go in and then they see your. So they saw my undergraduate was from IIT BHU Varanasi. So they started asking questions about the heritage of Varanasi. What is Varanasi famous for? That's how the interview started. And then they went on to mechanical engineering. And mechanical engineering, as I've told you, is not my strength. So when they started asking a few technical questions, I told them very confidently that this is not something I'm very comfortable with. I worked for 2 years in a consulting firm, so I've sort of left mechanical. So let me. So I told them this, and then they understood this. They were so understanding that they switched topics. They did not see it as something negative. They saw it as probably something positive, because the person is confident enough to say what he does not know very well. So after that, they started asking questions about my work ex, standard questions. क्या काम किया था, कैसे, मतलब what did you learn, all that. And then they went on to ask about hobbies. So I write poems. So they started asking about my favorite poets, favorite authors. And they also started, they asked me questions about the AWT, right, the one which we write before getting into the interview. So it was about Zomato. There was one person, I think, uh, from Madurai, who had eaten someone else's order. So the AWT was based on that. So they were asking questions on ethics and all that, and social media trolling. So it was a very standard interview, nothing, out of place. Something, no, none of the questions were unexpected. Whereas the Bangalore interview was really a test of confidence. It was nothing about my skills or my knowledge. The moment I entered, they started making fun of my name. Why do you have two names? Why don't you have a surname? So it was basically to make me uncomfortable and see how I react to it. And then after that, they started asking me questions about consulting, some really tough questions I was not able to answer again. And then they asked me what my passion is. I told them I like many things, but I don't have one particular area where I'm really passionate about. So again, probably they like my honesty. So that was one. And then again, so all the questions were basically trying to probe me. They asked me, I've seen several candidates like you today. How are you different? So it was all about making me uncomfortable and seeing how I react. And if you're able to, I was able to keep my calm to a reasonable extent. So I think that's what worked for me in the B interview. And C was really short one. They just asked me about Modi ji and Trump. They asked me about something related to a pattern. It was a quant question. I don't know. C loves quant, so even in interview they brought in quant. So I was asked some random quant question, and I think I was asked about my work ex. That's all. C was very short, 5 7 minute interview.
Few very,
So
very
see,
important
the
points.
thing is, every interview experience is very different, and it's either a test of your confidence or a test of whatever you have done in your life. Your knowledge is also tested, how you communicate what you've learned, because oftentimes we know a lot of things, but we're not able to put it out in an articulate manner. So that's also checked.
Absolutely, very well said. When it comes to all your three experiences were very different. It's more about the test of the confidence, your character, what you have done in the past, and how you are able to relate it. One thing that I really liked when you said that about mechanical engineering. So when you are not confident about it, you straight away said to them, "I am like from the last 2 years I'm doing consulting. So better, it's like indirect way of saying that better ask me questions on the current like last 2 years instead of going through it." Most of the students, and this is a news for all the students who are right now there and listening to this conversation, is please tell them exactly what you don't know instead of just beating around it and giving some answers which are again not looking great at the end of the day. So basically it's more about you having and carry that confidence in terms of what you know. Just stick your nose into that and leave everything which is your weak areas. Don't take them to the weak areas. So that's about interview. uh, Another thing, Sham, that most of the students are asking, because these are testing time, these are COVID times, a lot of students are working from home itself, they are not going to the colleges. So they are always coming to me and asking me what kind of courses that they can pursue apart from preparing for MBA. What kind of skilling courses is desirable at this point of time? So any tips that you can say and share in terms of what are the skills that they should generate at this point of time, and where from the sources they'll be able to get these skills?
Yeah. So this is in for preparation for the interview, or in general for preparation for
In
the MBA,
general
for
as well,
example.
in general for the
Okay.
interview as well, if you can guide as well as in general as well.
Yeah, generally I would suggest studying finance, because for engineers finance is a bit difficult. And in Ahmedabad, at least, they don't wait for you to slowly understand finance. They start from the advanced level. So but again, most of the students here, I take a commerce students, so they would definitely have some bit of knowledge with regard to finance. So that's probably something that's covered for them. Other than that, the rest of these subjects on marketing strategy are easy. But one thing that I would mindset that I would ask you all to follow is that generally in undergraduation, what happens is that we are taught in a very definitive style, that every question has a definitive answer. You have to follow up particular steps, and then you get to answer. That's how the engineering works, and probably even commerce, I don't know. But in management, it's much more open and subjective. You don't have one specific answer. For example, let's say you have to manufacture a car. Now that's an engineering question, and there's only one way you can manufacture a car. You go to Tata factory or Honda or Hyundai, everyone will do it the same way. There's no difference, hardly any difference. But let's say if you ask a question, as a CEO of a car company, how will you grow the company? Now there's no one textbook solution. Now you can go to different markets, you can expand geographically, you can bring in more products, you can target some other customer segment, like Ratan Tata targeted the lower middle class, the ones who are using bikes. Now let them use cars. So there are multiple ways of attacking a problem, and that's something that's to be kept in mind, because we always think there's only one solution. Then we see so many different solutions in management, we don't know which is right. All of them can be right. It's about choosing one, trusting your decision as a leader, and then making things happen. That's what management is, and it's very different from undergraduate style of education. There's something people really find it difficult to understand, this fundamental difference between management and education. So if you can have this mindset before entering a program, it'll help you reap a lot of learnings from it.
Well said, well said. What do you think that the students right now should follow a schedule? Because especially in COVID times, right? Most of the time they ask me, sir, I'm not able to focus in spite of all the best possible efforts that they are doing. Earlier, they used to go to the colleges, they will be finding a space for themselves. But right now, a lot of students are asking, sir, how to manage their scheduling, because it's very, very difficult staying at home, managing home as well, and few are managing their work life as well, and there are few who are managing their cat as well. So how to manage the entire scheduling, how they can prepare a schedule for themselves that can work for them?
Yeah, sure. Schedule is definitely important. Discipline and schedule are the foremost things. So I would generally recommend you to not set you particular, let's say I'll study for 6 hours today, 4 hours today. Those kind of things really did not work with me. I used to have a quantity. I mean, I would set myself a particular goal that I will complete 2 tests today. Doesn't matter how much time I study, I can complete those tests in, let's say, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. It's my depending on my flexibility. But I'll set myself a quantitative goal and then I'll go after it. That's how I did it. So let's say in this one week I want to give 7 tests. I'll break it up. Maybe Monday I'll give two. I'll take a break on Tuesday. I'll give two more tests on Wednesday. So you can have some flexibility in your scheduling, but have a larger goal as to what you'll achieve in this 1 week or 1 month time frame. So start, let's say we are in June today and you have your exams in, let's say, November. So you have a 5 month window, and then now you have to distribute all your whatever, how much ever tests you want to give, how much ever studying you have to do with regard to your particular topics. So break them into different actionable goals. Itna karunga July ke liye, itna August ke liye. Now these goals can change as you go ahead, but initially have something concrete. And then once you have something for July, break July into 4 weeks, and then break 4 weeks into 7 days. That becomes much easier to approach scheduling.
Very, very well said. Shida, any other question that will be picking up from the audience as well? Because these were the top questions that came. These 8 questions came from every single corner. So I thought that these 8 questions I'll be covering. Few more questions. Any other question any of you are having? Because roughly we have covered the entire ambit of the discussion that was going on. Any other question any one of you would like to ask can put it in the chat box. I know they're like suddenly I'll be getting some started. How many hours of study is required per day? The favorite question of every single student goes to Shyam. How many hours
Yeah, it's a,
to
it's a
study?
really difficult question to answer. Depends on what job are you working, and what is your daily schedule looks like. So as I said, it's a personal question. You have to figure it out yourself. There's no definitive answer, and I'll refrain myself from giving you a fixed answer, because you have to see what is what how what is, and as I said, what is the gap between where you stand and what you want to achieve. So based on that, you have to calculate the total number of hours you may have to put in to achieve what you want to achieve. And then maybe 2 hours is enough for you, maybe 4 hours is not enough for you. Who knows? You have to figure that out. Start with something. Maybe let's say you put in 2 hours and then you realize that nahi, aur mujhe padhna chahiye, I have a lot of free time, I can improve more. Then make 2 into 3. Then maybe you'll find some sweet spot. So once you make 3, you'll find 3 bahut zyada, itna nahi kar pa raha hu, then you'll come back to 2.5. So it's an iterative process. Start with something and figure yourself out. That's the answer.
Well said, well said. There is another question about the VAT, because most of the IIMs they test written assessment test, right? Written ability test, as we call it. So can you throw some light on the same, how they'll be able to work as far as their writing skills are concerned?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they look for in this test is structure. I'm sure sir would have also told you all. So there has to be a clear introduction as to what you're going to write about in the rest of your essay. And then you come to the body where you make all your points, you give evidence, you give facts for making your points. Don't make random opinions. They're not there to let ask your opinions. They want you to make informed statements, and then make those statements have some data to back them up. You'll get the data from the question itself. Sometimes you might have data from the question, sometimes you have to bring in data from outside. If you are following current affairs, then you'll be able to get some data. You'll have it in your mind. And then once you've done, when you've established your whatever hypothesis you have to make, and then you can conclude at the end of what you intended to say, and what is the final recommendation that you would give for whatever is the particular question. So follow this structure and make sure that you do not write your opinion simply, and try to back them up with some data. That's it for a good path. If you do this, I think you'll get a good enough score.
Okay, so there are another three questions, the last three questions, because I can understand the students are having so many questions, so many doubts. They can go on and on for the next 24 hours, but we need to put up full stop somewhere or the other. There is another question that if, for example, someone is working for that matter, quants or DI or LR or English, and they're not getting the required marks into that area or into that section, that means that they are demotivated. Automatically, the demotivation starts happening up with them. So in this case, what needs to be done, Shyam, for the student? Every time they are appearing,
I think,
they're practicing
yeah,
and they're not
I
getting the
think
marks.
this is here mentors like you come in, sir. I think when they talk to you, they'll understand what exactly they are doing wrong. Because I think as a student, there's a limit to self diagnosis, right? So once a mentor sees through your pattern of answering the questions, they'll be able to figure out where you're going wrong. And then they, not just that, they'll also give you help you with words of motivation, which go a long way. It's more about the mindset as well, not just about solving. So I think, yeah, reach out to your teachers, your professors. They'll definitely help you out in this scenario.
Very well said. How to crack CAT in 5 months or 6 months if someone is starting today? So, what to be done if someone is having only 5 to 6 months to go?
Yeah, I think 5 to 6 months is a reasonable time. I mean, I don't know why people think 5 to 6 months is not enough, but there are only three sections. And if you look at the cat, it's a if you get 6 hours, let's say, for giving cat, most of you will get full marks, because the questions are generally fairly easy. It's like 12 standard questions, but actually a test of your accuracy, right? There's limited time, and you also have to attempt most of the questions and get most of them correct. So it's a speed versus accuracy trade-off. So you have to basically start with practice, right? You have to make sure that you attempt as many questions as you can and get as many of them correct. So you can do only that with practice, and 6 months is a lot of time for practicing. So start with taking those 3 hour tests, then you identify which is your weak point, and then start working on it. So it's a process. You'll keep doing it, and I can assure you that 6 months is enough. You don't have to worry about the time.
Right. The last question, Shyam. Like someone have just asked me, like in which kind of job, as I can see the question, are you in, and are you enjoying what you're doing at this point of time after you have got the job? So that's it. I'll just reframe it. The job that you have got, just tell me about it, a little bit about the job that you are into, the profile that you are into, and what kind of job that you are into.
Yeah, sure. So even before MBA, I was in the management consulting industry, and even after MBA, I've continued in that industry. So I'm currently going to start working for Strategy and in a month or so as a full-time consultant with them. So what happens in management consulting industry is that you work with all the big businesses of the country, of the globe, and you help them solve their day-to-day business problems. It could be about strategy. How do I increase my profits? How do I go and access, let's say, Indonesian market, because Indonesia is, let's say, very much similar to India. So I want to make revenues there also. And they might have problems with regard to their cash flow management. Let's say, given the pandemic situation, every company is finding it difficult to manage the crisis. So how do I manage my accounts receivables, accounts payable? So these are different business questions. And as a consultant, you have to go and analyze it to the deepest level possible. That's what you do. The consultant's major skill is that objective analysis. Take the business problem and uncover the layers of it. It's something that you learn in MBA, but this is what basically consultants do. They take major business problems, which high level problems, which only CEOs think of, and that you as a 25-year-old consultant get to work on. So it's a great privilege for anyone to be working on such problems. Yeah, that's the charm of the management consulting industry.
attaching my question into it, which is probably the last question that I want to attach. What do
Sure.
you see like next 5 years? Someone is saying that you're working under someone. Have you ever thought about starting your own entrepreneurship journey after 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line? What is your like next 5 years, 6 years plan from here?
Yeah, I haven't specifically thought about starting up, but I'm someone who loves autonomy. So if I think that corporate life, may there's not much autonomy, I've learned whatever I can, and if I get some specific idea, then yes, I'll surely venture out. Because after having IIT, IIM tag, what you have in life is a great cushion. So if you feel like you have to pursue a startup, I think we are well equipped to do that, and we should not sort of restrain ourselves. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility for me.
Oh, wonderful, Sham. So, still the questions are pouring in, but I'll just take a pause out here because there is always a time duration. So wonderful speaking to you, Sham, and after so long. And thank you so much for sharing all the insights about your journey, about your life, and everything, right? And I'm pretty sure that today the students will be motivated because the most important thing right now is to stay motivated because a lot of things are happening around the world, in India, around us, in the environment. And if we can be motivated at this point of time, there is a lot of things that can go right for the students. So thank you for sparing your precious time and like sharing your insight about the do's, don'ts of CAT, IIMs, and everything. And I'm pretty sure with the kind of responses I'm also receiving in the chat box right now, great to hear from sir. And there are so many messages coming up. I'm pretty sure that the students will be your junior. They'll be junior and they'll be following your footpath and they'll be going ahead with starting their journey of IIM Ahmedabad.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed the session, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
I would advise everyone to keep their confidence high. That's the most important thing. Yeah, you'll definitely get into one college or the other. Just keep your
Thank you
confidence
so
intact.
much. Thank you, Sham. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.